All right. All right, so we are going to start today's conversation with understanding how you can find care at Bronson. We have some additional resources listed on your screen. The first feature with bronsonhealth.com is our Find a Doctor feature. And that Find a Doctor feature allows you to narrow down whether you're looking for primary care, if you're looking for a specialty office. You can search the providers that are accepting new patients in those areas. Or if you're not comfortable using our website, then you can also use the Care Advisor phone number 269-341-7788, and they can assist you in finding the specialty office that you are looking for. If you ever need any help with my chart, Bronson's Health Answers service is always available Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 o'clock, either by the phone number, or you can always send them an email if you need any help with my chart. Health Answers is also an available resource to help with getting a quote on out-of-pocket expenses. Let's say your provider has ordered a service, maybe lab, an x-ray for you, and you want to kind of know what that is expected to cost you out of pocket, then Health Answers can help you as well. And then the last resource there is our patient accounting department. So if you ever need any assistance with billing on any Bronson medical services, then our billing department is available for you too. All right, so again, I'm just so happy to have you. We've had a few more people join since I started. Welcome. And today, we want this to be very open format. I want you guys to ask questions and collaborate with me, but I also want to take the first few minutes to introduce the theme of the 2023 National Nutrition Month, kind of go over some of the information from that theme and how we can use some of that information in our day-to-day lives. And then I want you guys to have the opportunity to ask questions at the end of our session today. Anything else maybe related to the theme, or any other questions that you might want to ask a dietitian. So let's get started. So our theme for National Nutrition Month is Fuel for the Future. And my question that I want to start with is, what does fuel for the future mean to you? Either go ahead and answer that via the chat, or unmute yourself and kind of give an explanation of what fuel for the future means to you. So I've got some chats coming in, and we have Michelle stating that fuel for the future means eating healthier foods. We got a few chats. For a healthier age, eating healthy foods which make you feel better, ways to have a healthy and happy life, healthy choices to help me age in good health, absolutely. Eating well so that I can continue to participate in life in the future, absolutely. Healthy life, eating right for my health to continue on. Absolutely. Very good, right? We're thinking about the now. We're thinking about the now so we can think about the future. I love that, you guys. Very good. We've got one more here, learning how to eat for diabetes and gastroparesis. Yes, very specific needs. We won't touch on those specifically, but we will provide some resources as to where you might be able to get some help on some of those things. Very good. Thank you guys for sharing. So the theme for National Nutrition Month comes from the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics. And if you are curious about this professional organization, they also have a public-facing presentation as well. And you can find information on their website on evidence-based nutrition information at their website, eatright.org. I'm putting that in the chat for you guys right now. And every month they come up with a new theme for National Nutrition Month. And this month it's Fuel for the Future. And really there's two goals with Fuel for the Future as a theme. One is thinking about how to eat sustainably, right? We're thinking about future of our bodies. Yes. We're also thinking about future of our planet. And then we're also thinking about those delicious foods and those healthful ingredients, as you guys have mentioned, on how to, remain healthy, or if we do have a medical condition, how to eat right for that condition and continue to be healthy in the future. So when we're talking about fuel for the future, we want to obviously address that everybody's nutrition needs are going to look different in every phase of life. And I just wanted to highlight some of those areas for us. So if we are taking care of any young children, any toddlers, maybe as we have our own toddlers, or if we're taking care of grandchildren, thinking about those specific nutrition needs. As a toddler, eating is a new process. So we're learning different foods. It is a sensory process in which a toddler is going to be, maybe just taking small bites, saying no. They might be playing with their food. And that is all part of the learning process and the enjoyment that we can receive from food that we can take on with us later on into life. So as the responsible party for the toddler, it is important to be introducing a variety of different foods so they can have that exposure to different food groups, different tastes, different textures. And just like adults, right? We try something new, we might not like it the first time, and we want to offer those foods multiple times, and maybe in a different type of a cooking process, right? Maybe we try something raw, maybe we try something steamed, try something roasted. Everything is going to have a little bit of a different taste or texture, and that experience is going to be the same for a toddler. Being mindful that a toddler's stomach is going to be smaller than an adult, and so they might need to eat more frequently, maybe in smaller portions. That's totally okay that they're not going to maybe finish a full meal in one sitting. Toddlers need a variety of different food groups, just as we do as adults, and they're going to be really learning about those different textures and tastes and smells with all of those food groups, hence why it's so important to be offering all of those different areas. Up to the age of 2 years old, toddlers need whole milk, so the whole like red cap milk, and then after the age of 2 years old, it is acceptable to transition to a lower fat milk like 2% or fat-free. Now, some toddlers may have a lactose intolerance, and so soy milk is a plant-based milk that is a plant-based alternative that is a higher protein compared to some of the other plant-based milks. We want to make sure that it is an unsweetened soy milk and that it has been fortified, meaning supplemented with calcium and vitamin D to ensure that it is an acceptable nutritional option as a replacement and substitute to dairy milk. So what about teenagers? Let's kind of go over their nutrition needs. Teenagers are continuing to grow in their bodies. They might be participating in more sports at that time. Teenagers may be more likely to lean towards convenience foods or less healthy options. And so it has been identified that teenagers tend to fall short of certain nutrients like calcium, iron, and zinc. And so for teenagers, the recommended daily amount for calcium is 1,300 milligrams per day. And you can find this information on the National Institutes of Health website for all age groups, a very good resource to be able to figure out how many milligrams or micrograms of a certain nutrient you might need. Calcium sources for all of this, or all of us, include yogurts, cheeses, low-fat dairy milks, or a fortified plant-based milk. Almonds are a good source of calcium, and then orange juice that has been fortified with calcium, and you can also get orange juice fortified with vitamin D as well. Iron and zinc, where teenagers tend to fall short of, can come from meat choices, fish, dried beans, lentils, and nuts and seeds. So our next question for you guys today is, how have your food choices changed based upon a different stage of your life? How have you noticed that your food choices have changed for you? You can either type that answer in your chat, or you can go ahead and unmute for me. How have your food choices changed based upon a stage of your life? Pamela says less junk food and more vegetables. As I age, I'm more careful on my cooking and choices. Answers are rolling in now. As I get older, I choose less convenience food and fast foods, less processed foods, junk foods, more vegetables, less kid-friendly now that they're out of the house. Okay, get a little bit more options and choices, a little bit more control over what you're having in your own home. Less sugar due to the way it makes me feel, more vegetables and fruit now. I used to be a picky eater as a child, and now becoming a parent, I'm eating healthy and accepting variety. I love that, right? As you have children, you become a role model for your children, and you want them to have a well-rounded diet for their future as well. I do not care for fish in general, but have to look for varieties that are palatable. Sure, eating healthier and watching my blood sugars. Yeah, so we might have a medical condition that kind of changes the way we're eating now. As I get older, smaller portions, more deliberate eating of healthier foods. Just finished chemo and now in radiation, not always making the healthiest choices. Am eating more salads. Yeah, so we might be going through some things that are very taxing for our body. And, you might not have the energy to be cooking full meals. And so we have to be mindful of that, to be a little compassionate for ourselves and where we're coming from in that process. Very good. I love, everybody was like, more salads, more vegetables. Yeah, we tend to kind of steer clear of those in our younger age, right? We're a little bit of invincible, and then we age. As we age, we start to realize, maybe we do need to eat a few more of those. But we all have different personal preferences, right? Our tastes are different. Like somebody shared, they don't necessarily love fish, but trying to find a way that we can cook it, or a different type of fish that maybe isn't as fishy flavored, that we can still get benefit from. Thank you guys so much for sharing. So as adults, which I'm assuming most of us are in this group, we really are just being mindful, right? We've gotten to this point. Some of you guys have acknowledged that, used to be very picky, but realizing that we do want to be a role model for future generations, we start to include more foods, try different cooking methods. And that is great, right? That learning process of cooking and eating healthy, it never ends. It continues in our life, and our tastes do change as we age too. So a food that maybe we didn't like as a child, maybe tastes okay now, right? I never used to love tomatoes, but I'm good with tomatoes now. Our tastes change. So as adults, we're still working on choosing a variety of different foods, retrying foods that maybe we haven't liked before, but also just being very mindful that when we are choosing food from different food groups, we want really colorful foods, because those colorful foods can give us different vitamins and minerals and antioxidants that can help us when, just promoting disease prevention. That's the goal, isn't it? So a variety of foods. We think about that plate method, right? We've got half of our plate being fruits and vegetables, very colorful, a quarter of our plate being lean proteins like chicken breast or pork loin or fish, turkey. Those can be good choices for lean proteins, not a lot of saturated fat, but still ensuring that we're getting a good protein source at each of our meals. And of course, they do not have to be plant-based proteins either. Or they don't have to be meat-based proteins either. They can be plant-based proteins to meet that need. And so it can be a whole grain that's high in protein like quinoa. It could be the use of legumes like black beans and kidney beans and pinto beans. It might be the use of tofu or tempeh. As we age, we might want to experiment with more plant-based proteins. Calcium is still an important part all throughout our life. And so making sure that we're getting adequate low-fat or fat-free dairy items into our daily intake. Calcium being very good for our bones as we continue to age, especially for women, and we're trying to reduce that risk of osteoporosis. Women, I want to highlight women for a second here. Women have different nutritional needs depending upon their age as well. Women that are within that childbearing age range want to focus on ensuring that they're getting adequate folic acid. Folic acid is essential in the development of a child if they're trying to become pregnant, but also ensuring that you even need a little bit more folic acid during pregnancy. And folic acid comes from sources such as dark green leafy vegetables, those legumes that I was referring to, black beans, kidney beans, whole grains, citrus fruits, and nuts are all good sources of folic acid. We've talked about calcium, so we don't need to speak on that again. But vitamin D is also important for most of us, especially being Michiganders and not getting exposure to sun as frequently, but we do have some higher needs during pregnancy as well. And so vitamin D can again come from those fortified, orange juice, fortified milks. If you're doing plant-based, or a dairy milk has a vitamin D, fortified cereals. Just a second. Fortified cereals can also be a choice too. Cod and tuna can also be good choices for vitamin D. And then when breastfeeding, if you are a breastfeeding woman, it really depends upon how frequently you're breastfeeding, how much you're breastfeeding, but breastfeeding can be kind of taxing on a woman's body. And so there needs to be more calories included in that diet when breastfeeding, and also to ensure, adequate milk production. And then hydration is another key point to think about when breastfeeding. For older adults, we want to think about, one, are there any medical conditions that we need to be aware of? Are there any medical conditions that, nutrition plays a role in that we want to be mindful of? I know some of you guys have shared diabetes, gastroparesis, blood sugar control, maybe we're talking about hypertension. And so as we age, that muscle mass naturally decreases. And so we want to ensure that we are getting an adequate source of protein at all of our meals and snacks. And those good protein choices can be eggs, could be peanut butter, which is also a good heart healthy fat choice too, tuna, sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds for snacks, nuts for snacks, maybe adding to a salad. Chicken, turkey, and beans are all good protein sources. Maybe we do have hypertension, or maybe we know that we have a family history of hypertension or high blood pressure. And so we're being mindful of how much salt we're taking in. And so, not adding extra salt at the table, but using salt-free seasonings like garlic powder, cumin, or cilantro can be good for cooking for flavor without having that extra salt. And then, as some of you guys mentioned, maybe you're being mindful of taking in less sugar. And so we're doing our label reading, looking at lower sugar yogurts or lower sugar cereals, or choosing unsweetened beverages to drink like water, or an unsweetened electrolyte drink like, a Gatorade or a Powerade, but, the unsweetened versions. An unsweetened tea could be another good option. All right, so I got another question for you guys, and I see some questions coming in to me directly, so thank you guys so much for those. I will address those, in just a little bit once we come to that kind of Q&A question session, so thank you guys for sharing. But the next question I want you guys to answer is, what do you do to eat in a way that is environmentally friendly? Again, you can either type your answer in the chat or unmute. What do you do to eat in a way that is environmentally friendly? So some answers that are coming in right now are eat local and eat organic. Eat very little beef, organic fruits and vegetables, less beef. Okay. Try to buy local produce when possible. Trying to eat what I have in the refrigerator and not waste food. That is huge. Thank you for sharing that. Trying to eat more meatless or plant-based meals, buy local foods in season, farm fresh eggs. Oh, participate in a crop share in the summer. Very good. I love that idea. Try to buy local foods, sustainable seafood. Very good. Yes, we've got good labeling now on our seafood packaging. Avoiding using plastic cutlery and trying to avoid food waste. Very good. So yes, we looked over those nutrition tips, as we age throughout those life process, but now we want to kind of just shift towards thinking about the other part of this theme, fuel for the future, and keeping our environment in good working condition as well. And so you guys all shared great sustainability tips in what you guys are doing. Thank you guys so much. And so just to add a couple of others, right? Some of you guys talked about trying to decrease how much plastic you are using from like plastic silverware. And I think that goes along the lines also with our plastic grocery shopping bags. There's lots of options now for reusable grocery shopping bags that last much longer, or maybe just taking your plastic bags with you, bagging them yourself so you don't have to take more plastic grocery bags that are likely going to go into the trash. However, we do have some grocery stores in the areas that will take some of your grocery bags for you for recycling purposes. So that is also a resource. In continuing with the plastic theme, right? Using a travel water bottle so you don't have to use plastic water bottles as frequently. You guys mentioned plant-based meals. Same thing that I'm talking about here, plant-forward meals, right? The use of beans and whole grains, less meat can be another way to decrease, water usage and for certain chemicals that are used for fertilizers and those sorts of things can be an option. You guys talked about using farmers markets, and I just cannot wait until those come around again. Buying from your local farmer decreases how much gas has been spent on having to transport fruits and vegetables to our area, so that can help with our climate. Buying in season, again, that decreases how much transportation costs and gas is spent in bringing and transporting fruits and vegetables into our area. And then somebody talked about trying to decrease food waste. So using what you have, but also realizing that, if you're buying lots of fresh produce and you just can't eat it in time, it is okay to use our shelf-stable options like canned or frozen to decrease how much food is actually going into the waste. So just to add a few ideas to what you guys already added. Thank you guys so much for sharing. So that is the overview of the National Nutrition Month theme. I want to share with you guys some of the things that our nutrition departments have put together as resources as you guys move forward through this month. And so this National Nutrition Month calendar is something that you can go through on a day-to-day basis throughout this month to get new ideas on how to eat for health. And also there are some sustainability tips right along with this calendar. So today's challenge was to attend our class today, but tomorrow, just thinking about the moving forward and probably doing some grocery shopping likely this weekend, maybe try using some reusable grocery shopping bags instead of plastic if you're not already doing so. So just some fun tips and tricks here. Some of the links here are clickable, not on the PowerPoint slide itself here, but if you go to Bronson's social media pages, Facebook, you can download this calendar. And we would love if you guys kind of go along and do this challenge with us throughout this month. You can cross off the dates that you, did the challenge or did the activity. and see how many you were able to complete at the end of the month. So that is something that we've put together. So somebody asked the question, how do we get this calendar? Yeah, so if you are on Facebook, it is on our Bronson Health Facebook pages that you can download. I believe it's on our website as well. So if you just type in Fuel for the Future or Nutrition Month Challenge, you can find it there. And we can also send the link in your follow-up email too. Thanks for asking that. And then I also wanted to share with you guys some of our upcoming classes. There is a QR code here. Registration is required in order to get that Zoom link email. So if you're interested in any of these classes, I know somebody mentioned, yes, we'll send that link. Thank you. Somebody had mentioned about how they try to eat for like sustained energy levels. This might be the class for you. It's called High Energy Eating. It is going to be taught by one of our other health educators on Thursday, March 9th from 9 to 10. And we're going to be talking about how to eat foods in a way to maintain those long-lasting energy, that energy level throughout the day. So there is a QR code, but if you just go to our bronsonhealth.com website, look at all the classes and events that are happening, you'll be able to find and register for this class too. The next class that we're going to be having is on March 14th. It's called Bountiful Beans. And so we're going to be talking about the benefits of beans, how to use beans in everyday meals. And that is going to be being taught by one of our dietetic students. And that's Tuesday, March 14th from 9 to 10 o'clock. The next class that we're going to have this month is a healthy cooking class, and it is going to be around pasta. Who doesn't love pasta? So Wednesday, March 15th from 2 to 3 o'clock, we're going to be doing a pasta cooking class. On March 16th from 9 to 10, that's a Thursday, we're going to have a Boost Your Brain class. That's also going to be taught by one of our other health educators, Isabel. And she's going to be talking about, you know, what to do to keep our brain sharp as we age, right? We, you know, Fuel for the Future is not just food. It's also about our brain health and keeping that healthy and sharp. And then the last class of the month is a Walking Works class. And so that's going to be Thursday, March 30th from 9 to 10. That will be taught by myself. And we're just going to talk about the benefits of walking as a form of physical activity, exercise. And, you know, hopefully the weather will be warmed up by then and we'll get to eagerly get outside and walk in some of the beautiful parks that we have in the area. So those are upcoming classes for March. And then the last resource that I want to share with you guys, and you guys will probably start to see this in email too, but you get a sneak peek here, is a recipe book with healthy eating tips and sustainability ideas that we developed also for National Nutrition Month. There is a QR code there to take you. And I should have mentioned that in order to utilize that QR code, you just use your cell phone, the camera feature right over that code, and it'll pop up a link that you can click on and it'll take you to these. But we can put that in our email follow-up as well. That is already on the bronsonhealth.com website. Just type in Fuel for the Future cookbook and it'll take you right to this. It's about a 17-page document. And then lastly, I want to share with you guys, you know, some of you guys have brought up, you know, that you have certain disease states, diabetes, gastroparesis. And if you ever feel like you need additional help in this area, Bronson has registered dietitians in Battle Creek, Paw Paw, Kalamazoo, and South Haven that provide a service called medical nutrition therapy. And so just remember that that is a resource. If you use this QR code or just type in nutrition services on our bronsonhealth.com website, you can find the location addresses and the phone numbers. They do work by referral only, so you will need to speak with your primary care provider or your specialist in getting a referral to this service. But just remember that there are people in Bronson that can help you if you have a, you know, a specialized medical condition that you need help eating for. All right, so now questions. We've got a half an hour to just spend together asking questions and chatting. And so if you've got questions, go ahead and add those to the chat or feel free to unmute yourself. And I do realize I have some, but go ahead and submit your questions now for us. And while you guys are writing questions or figuring out how to unmute, I'm just finding the previous questions that were sent to me. Somebody had asked the question about purchasing pre-prepared salads, spinach salads, quinoa salads, and if that was a bad choice. And I do not think that that is a bad choice. I think with some of those pre-made salads, you might want to be mindful potentially of what kind of dressings are being offered and ensuring that maybe there's not more sodium that you intended to include. Some of those pre-prepared salads might have more sodium, and so just being mindful of that, taking note of that and making sure that that aligns with your goals. And then if we're talking about like pre-packaged spinach or lettuce, in the plastic container, it's already like triple washed, instead of having to buy a head of lettuce or chopping it yourself, that can be a completely convenient option. And so you say you don't use all the salad dressing they include, absolutely. So just being mindful of how much that's being used, yes. So again, those are convenient options to help you eat more vegetables, or if you're doing those quinoa salads, it helps you get more, fiber, more whole grains, plus quinoa is an excellent source of protein. So those are good choices, especially just as a convenience option. If you have a little less time on your hands, or if you're just going through something and you don't necessarily feel like you've got the energy to prepare them yourself, it's a completely acceptable option. So another question that comes in, it says, my husband has a lot of medical issues. What do you think of the unsalted broth? So unsalted broth as in purchasing an unsalted broth, I'm assuming is what you might be referring to. And so unsalted broths, low sodium broths have less sodium than the original option. Unsalted broth, I guess, are you using it as part of a soup? Are you using that as an option to, just drink? How does that relate to the medical issue, I guess, would be my follow-up question. Using it in meals, yes. So just being as part of a cooking method, maybe a moist cooking method for meat, or part of a soup, unsalted broth is a great option to decrease sodium. Thanks for asking that. How do you eat out and still try to eat healthy? I watch my blood sugar and my husband has to watch his salt intake. John, you should have came to last week's class called Dine Out with Confidence. That would have been perfect for you. And it is available on a recording. Oh, and maybe John isn't even, I see you now. So Dine Out with Confidence, check out that class from last week. It will be a recorded option on the bronsonhealth.com website. And so a lot of the things that we talked about in that Dine Out with Confidence class on how to eat healthy while being mindful of maybe sugar or salt intake, we really talked about being proactive and looking up nutrition information online, especially for the chain style restaurants that have all of their nutrition facts information available on their websites. Salt is a challenge when eating out because there definitely are high sodium choices out there. But when we, again, focus on portioning that plate in a way that includes a lean protein, like a grilled or a baked piece of meat, like chicken, fish, we have a whole grain option, like maybe a quinoa, maybe a rice pilaf, some brown rice. Then we're getting our whole grains and ensuring that maybe we even double up on vegetables, right? Maybe we're starting the meal with a side salad with some light dressing instead of ordering an appetizer that is probably fried, or doubling up on our non-starchy vegetable at that plate. So getting asparagus and broccoli, that can be helpful in making sure that we're not getting too much extra sugar, not getting too much extra salt. You can also ask the question, can you make my vegetables without any extra salt on them, right? If you look at those chain restaurants and you look at the ingredient list for the meals that they offer, you can see the ingredients, right? So you can see that when they steam their broccoli, they're going to be adding butter and salt. That's listed in the ingredient. And so you can say to them, can you just steam my broccoli without the salt and butter? If I wanted to add that, I could do that myself. And then I have a little bit more control of how much salt is actually on there. So you can ask that question too. As far as sugar is concerned, I would also just encourage an unsweetened beverage, right? Choosing water or an unsweetened tea instead of a sugary beverage or an alcoholic beverage, because that's going to include more sugars or calories. Thanks for asking that question. All right, next question. What do you think of adding collagen to veggie fruit drinks? Will this help my skin feeling like as I age so many wrinkles? Very good, very good. So I think I'll have to get back to you on this question as far as collagen in drinks helping with wrinkles. Collagen is a protein source, and so I think a lot of the reading that I've done on the use of collagen has been very much targeted more so on gut health rather than skin health. So I think I'll have to get back to you on that question. If you wouldn't mind maybe putting your email address in the chat directly to me, I could give you some more resources on that. But thank you so much for asking. All right, let me just scroll through here, continue asking any questions. Again, unmute or chat with me. I think I've addressed all of them, except I remember seeing earlier how somebody asked the question, how much protein should you be eating in a day? That's very individualized. The amount of protein that is recommended really depends upon your medical conditions, what stage of life you're in, what your goals are. Do you need protein because you're trying to just, maintain a certain muscle mass? Are you trying to lose weight? And so those recommendations typically change. For women, the minimum recommended amount of protein per day is about 50 grams of protein. But again, that really depends upon, your current weight status and what your goals are. Men typically more along 70 to 80 grams of protein per day. But again, that's very much individualized. And so, that's where I was saying, like, if you have those individualized needs, a medical nutrition therapy referral to get those specific answers for you and your goals can definitely work out to your advantage. But those are your generalized recommendations. Just writing down that email address, so thank you. And I see another question come in, so let's take a look at that one now. Where can we find good information on the requirements for different ages and genders? Very good question, Annie. Thank you for asking that. So when we're looking for more specific information about, how much calcium should I take in, or what is my recommendation for iron, the National Institutes of Health is a great resource, and they have the Office of Dietary Supplements website, and I can link that to you guys. I'm just going to have to stop sharing my screen real quick. because I was just on there earlier, and I will put that website in the chat for you. So the Office of Dietary Supplements through the National Institutes of Health have what I would call, they call them fact sheets. And I think that's a great resource when you're just looking for additional nutrition information. I put that in the chat for you. And so this fact sheet can help you look at, I'm really trying to increase my vitamin D intake, but I don't really know what foods have vitamin D, and I actually don't even know how much vitamin D I'm supposed to be taking in. So if you go here, you can search vitamin D, and it will give you all this information on vitamin D. It's a really great resource. And it does break it down by age groups too. You're welcome, Annie. All right, what other questions do you guys have?
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So we are a vegetarian family. Sometimes I'm concerned if we are getting enough protein or not. We do include lentils, beans, and variety of vegetables into our diet. But just to make sure, so how can I add more protein into our meals? Is my question.
Absolutely. Thank you for asking that question. So, I think starting at square one and analyzing the meals and snacks that are being served, looking at nutrition facts labels and saying, how many beans am I serving, to my family, how much protein does that come out to, just to kind of give yourself an idea for a starting point. If you realize, oh man, I'm only getting like 30 grams of protein per day, then yeah, there's definitely room for improvement. And so those extra protein sources can come from, in thinking about your vegetarian style, is utilizing maybe more recipes with beans, right? Trying different types of beans, black beans and pintos, looking at different types of whole grains. So I've mentioned quinoa a couple of times now, being a higher protein whole grain option. If you are doing any sorts of, cheese, including that as part of a snack, like cheese and fruit and vegetable, nuts and seeds are good protein sources. So making like fun, like bento box style meals or snacks, specifically snacks, right? Where you've got fruit and vegetable and maybe some cheese cubes and some nuts like, cashews or peanuts with some, sunflower seeds or pumpkin seeds. You've got 3 different protein choices there too, while also including good sources of heart healthy fats and having your fruits and vegetables. Looking at hummus maybe as a dip for, your vegetables, or a dip for maybe a whole grain cracker like a Triscuit. Using things that I mentioned earlier, like maybe if you haven't experimented a whole lot with like tofu or tempeh, experimenting with some recipes in that way, a different source of protein. Edamame is another good source of protein that I don't think we think about very often. So if you're not utilizing any of those sorts of plant-based proteins, you can start to work on some of those too.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yes.
Yeah, those are lot of options. I just need to start using them here and there, so then they get used to.
Yeah, one step at a time, right?
Yeah.
So lots of ideas, but maybe say, hey, I haven't been working on edamame very often. Let me try one new recipe this week that includes some edamame and see.
Yeah, the fact sheet is very
what the family
helpful.
likes.
Yeah, the fact sheet is very helpful. Thank you for
Yes,
sharing that.
yes, of course, you're welcome.
Yes.
Thanks for asking that question. Any other questions? I'll give you guys another minute if you have any additional questions, or if you guys have any topics that you would like to see from our department moving forward on healthy living, healthy lifestyles. You know, it sounds like there is a big interest here in plant-based meals. And so, you know, if you've got any additional topics that you would like us to speak on, please share them with us. We're always open to that. Type them in the chat, unmute if you have ideas. Okay, so another question is, I'm trying to get necessary calcium through food choices instead of supplements. Suggestions? Yes. So again, just really focusing on those good sources of calcium. Go to that fact sheets and look at the recommendations for how much calcium you should be taking in based upon age and gender. Of course, if you have any other medical conditions that may play a role in that, you know, talk to your doctor about how much calcium you should be taking in, but really focusing on those good calcium sources, you know, having a glass of milk or adding milk to, you know, oatmeal as a calcium source, you know, getting our almonds in, choosing fortified yogurts, having some cheese, some canned salmon. Those are all good calcium sources. You know, dark leafy green vegetables can be included in that as well. And so really just focusing and ensuring that we're getting all of those good sources throughout the day. We'll cook a chicken vegetable soup this weekend with mushrooms, carrots, celery, peppers, tomatoes, and herbs. Oh, I think you might be talking about your goal already. Very good. I mean, that sounds delicious. A chicken vegetable soup this weekend with mushrooms, carrots, celery, peppers, tomatoes, and herbs. That sounds delicious. And somebody says, I'll try a new plant forward recipe. Okay, so you guys have got your goals. So what's one new thing you learned today that you will use in the next week? Go ahead and either unmute or type your answer in the chat. I want to hear what you guys are going to be working on this week now that you learned some different tips on eating through different life phases. The websites for more information, absolutely. I haven't had some edamame in a while, so I think I'll include that this week. More lentils, yes. A good lentil soup. Any other goals? What are you guys going to be working on this week now? More salads. More vegetables. Yep, can't go wrong with those. Ah, thanks, Nikki. See how many other challenges you can do from the calendar. Yes, very good. Thank you for that. Somebody received motivation to eat more healthy foods, cooking them, not just buying them prepared. Yep, again, just be gentle with yourself. You know, we're all going through stuff, and so we do the best that we can. Cooking them when we have the energy and the time, but also just being mindful that there's nothing wrong with purchasing some things. Just being mindful of how much extra sugar or salt, you know, are in those prepared items. Somebody's going to try the calendar too. Might be fun for the kids. Absolutely. It's good to get them learning about sustainability tips along with some cooking and trying new foods. What is the fact sheet email address again? So the fact sheet, I just listed that in the chat again for you guys. And you know that that's reliable information coming from the National Institutes of Health. So that's good resource. All right, well, I don't see any additional questions coming in. And And so I just appreciate you guys all. Let's just make sure that we did everything we said we were going to do. We went over that the concept of the 2023 National Nutrition Month theme, Fuel for the Future. We learned how to use that concept a bit in our different life phases, and you guys were able to ask your questions. I thank you guys so much. Again, if you guys have any additional ideas for future topics, please put them in the chat for me, or I'll stay on for a few minutes after we complete here. And if you want to talk to me about some of your ideas for classes, feel free to do that. I appreciate you guys so much. Looking forward to seeing you all in some future National Nutrition Month classes that we talked about. Thank you guys so much for being here. Have a great day.